ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome to DurianASEAN. You're with Gowri today, and it's a Wednesday morning. I'm back here on our ASEAN Daily to bring you news from all over Southeast Asia, a couple of news from around the world, and talk about anything and everything concerning Southeast Asia. And just before I kick off with the news commentary, I hope all of you are having a very good morning and will have a very good day, whether you're at work or heading to school or whatever it is that you're up to today. And of course, you can always reach out to me on Facebook. Just look for DurianASEAN. Look for me on Twitter and Instagram, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for all the daily interviews and news podcasts. So a couple of important world headlines before we go to Southeast Asia, where we have South Korea holding a live fire drill off East Coast. And it seems that the South Korea's military said it was holding live fire drills off its country's East Coast involving anti-ship missiles and jet fighters after North Korea conducted a submarine-launched ballistic missile test condemned by Seoul and Washington. So this is a retaliation to what North Korea has been working on, which is their submarine-launched ballistic missile. And we have a little update about what the US has said about that, and I will probably mention that a bit later on. And Algerian forces kill 22 Islamic State tied militants, and Algerian troops have ambushed and killed at least 22 militants allied to Islamic State as they held a meeting east of the capital on Tuesday in one of the country's largest military operations in the recent years. And we'll be talking more about the Islamic State and the links to Malaysia, so stay tuned for that one as well. Pentagon says Iran warships are linked up with cargo vessel. The Pentagon said on Tuesday that 2 Iranian warships have linked up with a cargo ship that Iran said is carrying humanitarian aid to Yemen, as activists on board in the vessel said it was due to arrive at the Yemeni port of Hodeidah on Thursday. So we know that there are some troubles, some turmoil happening in Yemen, and it seems Iran is stepping up to help them. And finally, UN envoy warns Gaza is desperate and angry over devastation. The United Nations and the Middle East envoy has warned on Tuesday that the people of the Gaza Strip are desperate and angry about their plight, and that it's up to Israel and Palestine authorities to prevent an implosion of the Mediterranean enclave. Of course, the issue between Israel and Palestine. Also at the Gaza Strip, a lot of different militant groups involved here, very complicated situation, and the UN itself is saying that it's up to Israel and Palestinians to talk it out, because the whole world can take a stand, and as much as we choose our sides and we want whether we propose a one-state or a two-state solution, it's really up to them eventually to decide. And let's move on to what's happening in Southeast Asia. And of course, we are still on the issue of the Rohingya refugees. We've been talking about it pretty much the whole of last week and this week as well. And ASEAN is said to be disgraceful and because of their inaction on the Rohingya refugees. And of course, this year, ASEAN is supposed to make the ASEAN Economic Community a reality, but whatever is going on in the Bay of Bengal right now kind of makes that vision a mockery, because it is arguably the worst refugee crisis that we've had since the 1970s, where we had a boat of people from Vietnam just exploding in the shores of ASEAN members. And what happened was, back then we just ignored it, and apparently we're still doing the same, because that's what we're used to doing. And we're still ignoring the refugees on the boat who obviously need help. And probably the issue here is that we still lack a regional framework on refugees, and so far only 2 ASEAN member states have signed onto the UN Refugee Convention. And of course, these Rohingya Muslims were driven to the sea by Myanmar's ultra-nationalists who feel like murdering their feeling their murderous Buddhist oaths and by Bangladeshis who do not regard them as natives. And there are believed to be at least 8,000 people in the boat. So far, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, we all know have pushed the boats back out to the sea. Even while the refugees are starving, they need medical attention, but and some of them have even resorted to cannibalism because that is their only way of surviving. And Indonesia has already actually sort of taken a step, and they also ignored this boat of people where they pushed a boat with 400 aboard back out from the Aceh province. And this is reported by the Rappler, and I think I would totally agree with what's being said here, because ASEAN together, as much as we boast about infrastructure developments and investments worth of billions of dollars, but if we still do not have a framework to address a simple human rights issue, it probably questions our credibility as well. If you cannot solve a problem like this, how are we going to be handling multi-billion-dollar projects and to get investors to come in and to work together with the EU, with the ASEAN Plus 6, that calls for a lot of questions in this matter. And the Philippines actually set a positive example. We talked about this yesterday as well, where they were quite reluctant to take in the refugees at first, but I guess they finally relent. They just couldn't stand seeing the people in the boat and said that they would take in at least 3,000 refugees from the big figure of 8,000. Hey, that's something. You don't have to take in all 8,000. We have 10 countries in Southeast Asia, and if all the countries could come up and work together, they would, with each country probably have to take about 1,000. Of course, that is still a huge number, but there's no way that the right solution to this is to just leave them in the sea just to rot away and die. And another country here is also Myanmar, that is refusing to take accountability, refusing to take responsibility for whatever that's happening right now. And of course, they're blaming Thailand because the whole crackdown started in Thailand, and they that's why this whole influx of refugees happened, because all the human traffickers sort of abandoned their refugees and they had nowhere to go. And Myanmar is still trying to wash its hands off, saying that no, this is not our problem, it never was. But of course, that's where the Rohingyas were, and although they were not recognized by the Myanmar government or the people there, that doesn't change the fact that the Rohingyas are from Myanmar. And of course, this goes back years in history, along with the border, when the border between Myanmar and Bangladesh was set. And without Myanmar actually stepping up and joining the meetings that's being organized over here by Thailand, they turned down a meeting by Thailand as well, and it doesn't seem like they want to participate in any other meeting. If this keeps happening, this will continue to affect, I think, the regional ties between the countries, human security in Myanmar, and also ASEAN as a whole. And therefore, it's very, very important for Myanmar to realize that they actually play a huge factor in this issue, and we need Myanmar to step in and take accountability, and also join in the effort, join into the meetings that's being held, and fulfill its obligation according to the international humanitarian law. Another interesting that has also happened is Aung San Suu Kyi, who has been quiet for a very long time, has finally spoken up. And I think this is a long-awaited thing by so many parties, because Aung San Suu Kyi, of course, she is a key figure in the political scene, especially in Myanmar, as the opposition leader. And she has come forward, although she said this through her spokesperson, she has said that the boat people deserve human rights. And of course, it's a very general statement, but we are glad that Aung San Suu Kyi has finally stepped up and acknowledged the situation and said something about it. And of course, the Muslim boat people she said, are entitled to human rights, and they are a group who are deeply marginalized in the Buddhist majority nation. And her party spokesman took to the highly unusual step of urging Myanmar to give the stateless Muslims in the country a chance to get citizenship. And of course, this is a long shot there. It doesn't seem likely that the Myanmar will actually give any sort of identification, any sort of citizenship to the Rohingyas, and they are not being accepted, and they probably won't be, according to all, based on all the analysis and news that's been reported over the months or even over the years. But at the same time, as much as Myanmar do not want to accept them, like I was just mentioning earlier, doesn't mean that they can just be pushed out to the sea and left there, because they are still humans and they are entitled to human rights. And this was also reiterated by Nhan Win, who is the spokesperson for Aung San Suu Kyi, and he told the reporters that Aung San Suu Kyi will be meeting President Thein Sein here today to discuss about the matter. And of course, Suu Kyi has faced criticism for not speaking about this issue earlier, or not speaking strongly, at least, because Myanmar, as a Buddhist nation, and their surging Buddhist nationalism, has actually made things difficult for the Rohingyas, who are viewed as illegal immigrants from Bangladesh. But hey, according to this other news, we have Latin America and Caribbean who are willing to assist the stranded migrants in Asia if they remain stranded and no help is given to them. So, according to the Ecuadorian president, Rafael Correa, he urged the entire international community to examine the discriminatory immigration policies, and he said that the community of Latin American and Caribbean states will provide assistance to the thousands of Asian immigrants stranded in the coast, off the coast of Thailand, if the problem continues. And he also said that they are ready to provide the total support, including food supplies, as well as welcoming those impacted by the crisis in order to sort of relieve them from the tragedy that is taking place. And hey, I don't think he should wait. If you want to go ahead and give them a hand, please do so. They could use any help that they can get. And even to those of you in Malaysia or any other Southeast Asian countries, especially in Malaysia, there's been a lot of efforts on Facebook where volunteers are getting together to help out the Rohingyas, giving them food or first aid treatment. So look out for those on Facebook. Do your part. Try to help them. And Malaysia, as the chair of 2015, we keep saying this over and over again, we have to take responsibility. We have to step up as a leader and take charge of the situation and lead by example, and to show the other countries in Southeast Asia and also to the world that Malaysia is capable of handling an issue like this and capable of solving problems in ASEAN. So we will take a short break. When we come back, we'll move more to domestic issues among all the countries in Southeast Asia, starting from Malaysia.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome back to DurianASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. You're still with Gowri here on our ASEAN Daily, where I'm bringing you news from all over Southeast Asia. And yes, that was Neil Diamond with Sweet Caroline, a very good song, one of my favorites, classic as well. So if you want to reach out to us, of course, just go to our Facebook page, look for DurianASEAN. You can reach out to us on Twitter, Instagram, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel for all the daily podcasts. And moving on, just before I get into Malaysia, just a little update on what Singapore has said about the whole refugee crisis. And in one simple sentence, they have said that Singapore cannot accept refugees. This is according to their Home Affairs Ministry. And they said that as a small country with limited land, Singapore is not in a position to accept any persons seeking political asylum or refugee status, regardless of their ethnicity or place of origin, said by a spokesman for the Ministry of Home Affairs yesterday in response to questions. And he also said that Singapore would only assist by providing humanitarian assistance so that they can depart for a third country. And even when back in 1975 and 1996, Singapore actually hosted some 32,000 Vietnamese refugees, and they were allowed into Singapore only when a third country gave a guarantee of their removal within 3 months, and the last 99 of them returned to Vietnam voluntarily in 1996. And it seems that Singapore, of course, first of all, we wouldn't expect Singapore to say things like we cannot accept the refugees. Singapore is one country that the rest of us sort of look up to when it comes to crisis management, because in Southeast Asia they actually have the most efficient way of solving problems, and we often turn to Singapore to see how they go about doing it. And in this case, it's a bit ironic because although they say that they cannot accept refugees, it seems they do have a system for political asylums or for refugees who are looking for a new place. And just like the 3 months policy where they said they will allow refugees in the country if a third country actually gave them a written guarantee that they will be removed within 3 months. But I think it's a bit more tricky in this case because no country, especially Myanmar, I was saying earlier that Myanmar is not quite taking responsibility for this, so I think that makes it harder for Singapore to get a third country to give a written guarantee that the refugees will be removed within a couple of months and return either back to their own country or anywhere else. And it seems so far there's still no concrete solution yet for this. A lot of parties have been speaking up, which is great, but hopefully there will be a solution soon enough, because people are sitting on the boat out there and fighting for their lives and their survival. Moving on to Malaysia, of course, we have the notorious 1MDB issue, which is still ongoing, and it seems that our Prime Minister, Dr. Seri Najib Tun Razak, is still confident that the government can reduce the 1MDB debts. And he said that we believe our plans can reduce the 1MDB debts is being worked by the government, and although they are being faced by a lot of criticism at the moment, eventually they will prove that they can achieve their aim. And he said this during the Finance Ministry's monthly assembly yesterday. And he also urged the public to be patient because the 1MDB issue will be resolved soon. I think this is one of those moments where he is, of course, trying to possibly do some damage control and trying to get the people to be optimistic, but the problem is that we have multiple reports that have surfaced, and so many people in the country, this is not just from the opposition side, even from the government side itself, from all the banks. It seems 1MDB, he said that there's a lot of negativity surrounding 1MDB, and that is true. It is an investment gone wrong. And I think instead of wasting more money trying to sort of salvage the whole effort, it's best for him to come forward and tell us what really went wrong with 1MDB and what is the way forward from there, or what kind of help or aid that they can get, instead of trying to make it look like nothing's really wrong with 1MDB, no negativity surrounding it, and just if everyone just remain patient, it can actually be resolved. It's really not that simple. We're talking about 42 to 48 billion ringgit worth of investment, and it's of course all the taxpayers' money as well, and people want to know what's really happening with 1MDB and how the government is managing the funds. And he also said that
regarding GST, the upcoming budget in 2016 presentation would show that the collections of GST would be handed back to the people, and I'm really looking forward to that, to see him presenting that to the people. And of course, he also mentioned that in the long run, people will realize that the GST is a good move. Well, I hope that the long run comes soon, because all the prices have increased, although there were a lot of statements by the Prime Minister saying that that will not happen, and the cost of living just shot up within a couple of months, and everything, to put it simply, everything is just beyond expensive these days. So I hope that the long run comes pretty soon, so I can see how exactly is GST a good move and how it's beneficial to the people. And it seems that he is also contemplating on increasing the brim to 300 ringgit. And he also said that some people keep quiet after receiving the money, and they complain when prices of things go up a little. Well, maybe that's because 300 ringgit is a one-off thing, and it really doesn't help all that much. And perhaps, although the government, of course, they do have an obligation to come up with measures like this to help people in need, and we would trust the government to know what's best for the country, for the people, but at the same time, the cost of living is getting really, really high, and things are getting really expensive, and I think that something should be done about that as well. And of course, we have our former Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir, who actually called for an independent commission to probe on 1MDB. Of course, our Prime Minister has said that the Auditor General will be auditing and reviewing the matter, but apparently, according to Tun Mahathir, that is not really going to reveal much, because he called our Prime Minister called for the commission to probe, and he actually has a say in selecting its members, so that might not be very effective. And he said that we can wait until the Auditor General reports, and that can take years. And even after that, examining the accounts could possibly reveal nothing. And asking people to not question the Auditor General reports is also silly, according to Dr. Mahathir. And he said that Najib has not actually so far rebutted anything, whether it's regarding 1MDB, the Altan Tuyam murder case, or the purchase of a government exclusive jet. That's actually right. He has been telling people to be patient, that the probes are going on, investigations are going on, and we are still waiting for all these answers to be finalized and to carried from our Prime Minister. And apart from that, still in Malaysia, we still have strong links to IS, according to Asia News Network, and this is reported as soon as a Malaysian involved with the Islamic State militant group is still at large in the country and is being hunted by the police, according to our Home Minister, Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi. And he said that the individual was among 7 people who have links to IS and who have actually returned to Malaysia. And out of the 7 who have returned, they've arrested 6 people, but 1 person is still being tracked down by the police. And they are still trying to work out with that one. While the minister said that as of May 7, a total of 154 Malaysians were actually found to be involved in IS militant activities. Of course, this is another threat that's quite worrying in the region, and there have been multiple efforts to curb this problem, but I think it's still not grassroots enough, that they are not really speaking the same language as the youth who are involved, because obviously they have a very, very different mindset, very, very different reasons for joining IS. It's not just about religion, it's beyond that. It could go to personal reasons, it could be economic reasons, political reasons, and so it's very important that we get down to the root of the problem and address it from there. And moving on to Thailand, not a very good news for Thailand, where the general election, which was supposed to be this year, is being pushed to next year in the middle of 2016. And this is because of a decision by the military government to hold a referendum on a new constitution before they go ahead with the elections. And it seems that they have the military had actually ruled out a referendum, and they are planning to seek opinion from thousands of selected respondents in each of Thailand's 77 provinces. But a referendum has now been agreed, but they are going to meet up on the 6th of August to approve the draft of the constitution. But once that has happened, it will take at least 3 to 6 months before the referendum can take place. And of course, this is why it could mean that there will be no election up until the second half of 2016. And just a few key areas in the constitution. These elements are also quite contentious and is up for scrutiny. Future elections being decided by a proportional representation system that leans towards smaller parties and coalition governments. And the second key is that an upper house comprised mostly of unelected members, and the third one being Parliament being allowed to choose as Prime Minister someone who is not a politician or an MP. And most critics say that the constitution is aimed at preventing the return of former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, who was ousted in 2006 after being accused of corruption. And it seems that the constitution will be more in favor of the current government right now, and because of that, they are not sure if democracy will eventually prevail. And their opponents also accuse of course, the Shinawatras of cronyism, corruption, and financially ruinous policies. So I will see how this goes with the referendum in Thailand, and we'll definitely provide you with an update when we get one. So we're going to take another quick break. When I come back, a little bit about how India is looking to form a common Southeast Asian market.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome back to DurianASEAN. You're still with Gowri here on our ASEAN Daily, where I'm bringing you news from all over Southeast Asia. And just moving on to India right now, where they are looking to form a common Southeast Asian market. And it seems that India is looking at how they can leverage from ASEAN as well for their economic benefits in the country. And also, this goes back to a little bit on the relationship between India and Bangladesh. And it seems India has devised a trade policy for 2015 up until 2020, focusing mainly on building a common Southeast Asian market, as a regional trade is actually growing among all the nations. And this is said by their Indian Commerce Secretary Rajiv Kher yesterday. And also a common market is featured with a lot of harmonized policies like a common currency, the same taxation policy, and also the free movement of people. And I think this is something that's a very positive something to look forward to as well, where India is also looking to have similar taxation policies, and also to encourage the free movement of people, as we are also trying to do with the ASEAN Economic Community. And they said that they have placed regional trade strongly in the trade policy for 2015 to 2020, and a Southeast Asian common market is essential for strong economic growth, of course. And the two parties have also discussed on how the two neighboring countries can play bigger roles in global trade, as well as further market liberalization. And of course, I'm talking about India and Bangladesh. They are trying to sort of form a new horizon in bilateral trade, and also to renew the existing trade of agreement between India and Bangladesh. And of course, before this, these two countries have had a lot of differences and don't really have a proper agreement for a bilateral trade between the two countries. And there were a few complications, like for example, Bangladeshi trucks could not enter the two countries, India and Pakistan, because there is no agreement in place with India for using its land or for traffic movement.
And there will be many makeshift markets along India and Bangladesh bordering lines so that the people in those areas can have access to the market as well. And at present, there are at least 3 such makeshift markets along the borders or the adjoining areas of these 2 countries. And it seems earlier on Sunday, in another commerce meeting, they also demanded for a reduction. India's side has demanded for a reduction of duty on exports of pomegranate and orange from India, and had permission to set up pasteurized milk factories in Bangladesh. And India will also be considering the removal of a counterfeiting duty, CVD, a domestic tax to protect the local industry on export of Bangladeshi garment items to India. So it seems that India and Bangladesh are working things out because, of course, after all, you want to have a very good relationship with your neighbors. And through this renewed trade agreement, it seems that could have products worth of 5 billion entering Bangladesh through informal channels. And something to look forward to as well, India trying to trying to leverage the AEC and to also see how they can contribute and how they can come in as a trade partner and also get involved with our economic community that's been happening here. And just before we wrap up, we also have Kerry. Of course, I'm talking about U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry in Seoul, who lashed out at North Korea for its recent test of submarine-launched ballistic missile. Of course, earlier I also mentioned a little bit about how South Korea is retaliating to this. The submarine-launched ballistic missile test conducted by the North Korean leader, and U.S. is speaking up against it, saying that his current behavior is certain to attract increased scrutiny, and he's being provocative and contrary to the United Nations requirements, contrary to all international standards that he's supposed to live by, and therefore the U.S. is stepping in, and they are trying to either increase pressure or increase the potential of either sanctions or other means to make it clear to Kim Jong-un that he's on a very dangerous course in the missile system and his continued pursuit of nuclear weapons program. And also a breaking news where Indonesian ambassador dies from injuries after a Pakistan helicopter crash. And of course, Pakistan's Foreign Office has come up with a statement offering its condolences to Indonesia's government as well as the family of Ambassador Burhan. And that'll be all from me today on our ASEAN Daily. I hope you enjoyed listening to that and learned a thing or two. And of course, if you want to give me any comments, you are welcome to do so. Just reach out to me on Facebook. Look for DurianASEAN. We also have a Twitter, Instagram, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for all the daily news, podcasts, and interviews. And if you're on the go, you want to listen to us, you can download the TuneIn app. Look for DurianASEAN. We also have our very own app coming soon. And of course, as always, listen to us on the website www.DurianASEAN.com, and we'll be back with Grace in a bit at 9 o'clock for our Durian Heat, so stay tuned for that one.